Hello everyone, welcome to Plus Recaps. Today we are going to see an animation movie recap from 2021 titled Secret Magic Control Agency, spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie centers around Gretel, a secret agent, and her brother Hansel, a trickster, who must put aside their differences and work together on a mission to rescue a kidnapped king. The movie starts with a king who eagerly awaits his birthday. A servant asks him to taste and approve the dishes for his upcoming celebration. At the dining table, the chef shows him the various meals and dessert on the table. However, when the king tries to grab the cookies, the magic cookies roll away and merges each with various of the laid meals and pasta, bringing them to life. The pasta ties up the two servants and also ties up the king to his chair, and the foods carry him out of the window. The guards chase them, but they fly away. Later, a guard reports to the Prime Minister that the king was kidnapped using black magic. He asks the guard to keep the incident a secret, saying that to fight black magic, they must turn to the Secret Magic Control Agency, that is SMCA, an agency which watches and registers all the magicians and magic wands in the kingdom, hence no magic could happen without their knowledge. Special Agent Gretel of the SMCA investigates a circus who runs a smuggling operation. He argues she is mistaken, but Gretel accuses him of kidnapping the king. He sends in his boys to get her, but she uses her skills and awesome gadgets to defeat them. Later, she finds out that the man instead keeps magical creatures in cages, and it was a false lead. She frees the creatures and each go their own way, as one thanks her with a pendant. Agent Stepmother, head of the agency, explains to the Prime Minister that their efforts of finding the king have been in vain. The Prime Minister urges them to approach the situation differently by using another thief or trickster. An agent talks about Master Hansel, who stole the king's golden statue and smartly returned it, terming him as the greatest wizard. Agent Stepmother sends Gretel to bring in Hansel, who is Gretel's brother, as Stepmother talks about how Gretel puts her duty above family and wishes to be the best agent. Master Hansel performs magic to his guests while others help him do the tricks. The guests ask for the amulet he performs with, and he tricks them to pay with their coins and jewelry. When they leave, a lady approaches him, asking for an amulet to heal her sick little sister, but he refuses and gives her gold coins instead, telling her his magic doesn't work and to keep it a secret. Later, Agent Gretel arrests her brother Hansel and takes him to the hidden and cool capital of the agency. Agent Stepmother explains the kidnapping of the king, and they need him to help in the situation from the thief's point of view. Gretel, however, opposes terming his brother as a charlatan who betrayed their good family. Agent Stepmother asks them to put aside their squabble and work together. She threatens to expose Hansel's false tricks and also demote Gretel as an agent if they refuse, and the two later agree on the task. Gretel takes Hansel to their magic equipment room, which excites him. There is Thor's hammer, Aladdin's lamp, and many more antiques which he thought is just a myth. Agent's stepdaughter appears, and they explain to Hansel that the gadgets are too dangerous for the kingdom and are only used to study. She then takes them to get their special equipment while Hansel jokes around with them. Stepdaughter gives Hansel some anti-stray pebbles, which will help him not to go astray. She also reveals the results from her crime scene analysis, including traces of a mystery ingredient which brought the king's food to life, which she formulated to lead them to the mystery ingredient. She also shows a list of suppliers to the king's kitchen, and Hansel points to one sugar and spice shop on the list which he finds suspicious, and as the two head out, Hansel steals an equipment. Meanwhile, in a shop, a witch Elvira punishes her cookie general for losing a vanilla ingredient by throwing him into the oven and appoints another general. The kidnappers bring the captured king to Elvira, who offers to prepare a magical meal for the king. However, the king remembers how he banished her when she attempted to cook him a meal from magic. The king offers to pay her whatever she asked for, but Elvira reveals she intends to take his kingdom as she forces cookies into his mouth. Meanwhile, Gretel and Hansel sneak into the shop using their gadgets. Hansel then discovers the fireplace is actually a trick, which is cold fire, and finds a secret passage through. They find the sugar stash and live cupcakes, which are playing around. Gretel asks Hansel to follow her plan, but Hansel jokes to the cupcakes, calling them harmless. A giant dog appears and chases him around while Gretel sneaks through the door. They find a room with many magic portions, and Gretel finds the mystery ingredient that brings things to life. She tries to grab it, but the dog chases them around, causing them to fall from the ladder. The portions fall with them and react, causing them all to transform differently. After the house explodes, Gretel, Hansel, and the dog wake up and are surprised to find themselves transformed into their younger selves, and Gretel complains and blames Hansel. A guard finds them quarreling, and they are forced to escape. Gretel carries a portion as evidence to take to the SMCA, and they bring the puppy too. They try to explain themselves at the agency, but they are kicked out and have to find another way in. An agent reports that Hansel and Gretel were lost after the destruction of the shop. Meanwhile, the guards kick out Hansel and Gretel again as they try various other means to enter the agency. Gretel later suggests that they go to the thick forest to find a witch Baba Yaga to help take away the spell. They arrive and Gretel calls out to Baba Yaga to let them in. Gretel describes themselves as orphan children from the agency, and Baba Yaga lets them in. Gretel describes their situation with the portions, and Granny Yaga tells them of the other lake witch, who also deals in portions. She serves them a meal, and while Gretel is observing a portion using her special glasses, she notices the magic in the served bread, which causes the dog to sleep. She stops the eating and pretends to take his brother to sleep. Gretel falls asleep too, and tasks her brother to grab the antidote from the witch. Hansel disguises as a ghost and tricks Granny Yaga to give her the antidote, which she uses to wake up her sister and the dog. Granny Yaga chases them, but they manage to escape using Granny Yaga's magic motor, leaving her hut on fire. The magic motor flies them to the lake witch, and they crash land on arrival. Meanwhile, the cupcakes explain to Elvira how Hansel and Gretel caused the store explosion. The witch creates a giant creature from dough and charges it to find the two. Hansel finds Gretel's secret diary and begins to read her experiences, which are all about work and her wish to be best agent, like her parents. Later, a giant octopus captures them and takes them to a lake where they find the queen of the lake. The queen orders the octopus to search them, thinking they are Elvira's spies. The magic portion drops from Gretel, and the queen claims that the two came to steal magic vanilla from them and threatens to turn them into a fish. She turns Hansel into a tiny fish, but the queen's daughter notices her pendant on Gretel, which she gave her when she freed her from a circus cage, and stops her mother from turning her. She turns Hansel back to normal and apologizes while thanking them for saving her daughter. The queen explains how Elvira uses her vanilla to bake herself servants. They realize that Elvira intends to marry the kidnapped king to get magic of the royal level. Her guards capture one of Elvira's thieving cookies and takes it to the other captured ones. The queen later asks Gretel and Hansel to live with them, but the two plan to rescue the king. Gretel plans to release the cookies and follow them to Elvira and freeze them. The cookies begin to play around in the lake, but they manage to follow other thieving cookies to Elvira's place. Elvira's giant dough ball finds them and chases them around, but later Gretel finds a secret magical passage through to Elvira's factory. The dog distracts the guards while they pass through on board a train. Hansel thanks Gretel for saving him, and they reminisce of their dreams of becoming great partners, and Gretel asks him to become an agent. The train takes them to the factory where they disguise themselves and pass the guards. They find the king and try to rescue him, but the king refuses, calling Elvira her love. Gretel uses her gadgets and discovers the king has been enchanted by Elvira's love cookies. They read from her book how she plans to enchant everyone in the kingdom with her cookies. They trick the king to follow them to meet Elvira and brings him out. However, the king remembers Hansel, who once stole his golden statue, and calls for the guards. Elvira arrives and feeds the king more cookies and tells them of their marriage with the king, but Gretel reveals they worked out her plan. Elvira orders them to be thrown into the cookie oven. There, Gretel blames Hansel for refusing to study and becoming a swindler, while she herself studied and got a scholarship from the king. However, Hansel reveals that he made up the scholarship part, and that since without parents they had nothing, he performed his tricks to pay for her dreams as Gretel sighs in disbelief. Meanwhile, Elvira issues out wedding invitation cards throughout the kingdom. Gretel apologizes to Hansel for sacrificing her family to become an agent. Hansel comforts her, and they later use bouncing balls in the oven and escape. Gretel later makes an antidote for the love cookies from Elvira's book, and also makes a magic dragon which they use to fly back to the kingdom. Elvira distributes her love cookies to everyone. The life powder dissolves from the dragon, causing them to crash land as they head into the ceremony to save the king. Hansel distracts and objects to the wedding, claiming Elvira is her mother, which surprises the people. The guards take him away, but Gretel manages to shoot the king with an antidote. He comes to his senses, but the priest quickly marries them, and Elvira picks up her crown. She transforms into a queen and enchants the multitude to love her. The king awakens, but no one obeys him. Elvira orders them to be captured, but Gretel escapes to throw the antidote into the cookies. The queen intimidates her, and she gives her the magic jar, but Hansel later saves them using a gadget, which he stole from the stepdaughter earlier. They wrest the jar from Elvira, and in the struggle, she lands in the dough. She is transferred into the dough machine, which shoots her into the sky. Gretel pours the antidote into the dough, producing more cookies, which the people eat and regain normality. The king thanks Hansel and Gretel for saving the kingdom as the crowd rejoices while the two shake hands. Agent Stepmother orders the brothers Grimm to write an official version of the happenings. The king awards Gretel with the title Best Agent for saving the kingdom. Stepmother makes Hansel a royal magician, but he refuses, saying he can't do real magic, and she calls him a decent man. She later assigns Gretel a new task to find an evil sorceress terrorizing the enchanted forest. Hansel leaves with his dog, but Gretel calls him back as his new partner, bringing the wonderful film to an end. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. I'll be back with another interesting movie recap. Until then, take care.